morning, traders. I'm Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Thursday, August 21st. We are coming off another mixed day on Wall Street. During yesterday's session, the major averages ended mixed, with the Dow eking out the day's only win. The Dow picked up 16 points or 0.04%. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ recovered from early session lows but still ended in the red. The S&P 500 gave up 15 points or about 0.25%, making that 4 losing days in a row. The NASDAQ lost 142 points or 0.67%. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, Jess. Good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. They continue to weaken. We're down 0.3% right now. We were down 0.2%. We were down, 0.1%, but it keeps moving lower. And so, yeah, there's a lot of negativity. And, the tech stock valuations remain a focus. European Union and the EU and the US appear to have made some progress on their framework for a deal. I mean, the EU intends to eliminate tariffs on all US industrial goods to provide a more preferential market access to a wide ranging of U.S. seafood and agricultural goods, which is something that President Trump really wanted. So that's kind of that is positive. You're seeing gains this morning in NDSN and YMM. They're both higher after earnings reports. Walmart and CODY are lower. After the bell today, you got INTU, Workday, ROST stores, and Zoom. They're all expected to release. And then you got to take a look over at Europe and see what's going on over in Europe. And Europe is weakening. I mean, the DAX is down 70 points or 0.29%. The German manufacturing PMI came in better than expected, 49.9 in August. July was 49.1. So that's, but they're still down by, 0.28% this morning. The FTSE's down 18 points or 0.2%. Defense and aerospace sectors, they found a little support, because there's some doubts over the peace process with the Ukraine and Russia. That kind of, being a factor this morning. And in France, the CAC is down 0.67% with luxury stocks moving lower. Looking over at Asia last night, you saw that the Nikkei fell 278 points at 0.65% with weakness in tech. Hong Kong, the Hang Seng finished lower by 0.24%. Tech and consumer stocks led that move. But China was actually in the green. They finished up 0.13%. And now there's an increase of funds going into Chinese equities, and there is still positive sentiment in semiconductors, telecom, and consumer sectors in the Chinese market. Then you're looking at oil, and oil, hey, oil is trading higher. We got both contracts up over, over 0.6%. This morning, that EIA data showed that stockpiles declined by 6 million barrels, which is bullish for oil prices. And comments about the the Russian-Ukraine peace process running into difficulties, that's actually causing oil to move a little higher. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, we have tech in focus, we have things going on with the Fed, and of course, as you pointed out, other pieces of information that could be catalysts making moves in the market. And diving into the details and really seeing the stories behind the stocks becomes increasingly important to find opportunities as markets really look for direction and sort of hanging on to some of these catalysts. One of the areas that we're still seeing some action is earnings action, number of reports that are worth noting. So let's start there. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action?
That Billy, BILI, they beat by 9 cents. Walmart, Walmart was an interesting report. I mean, they missed by 6 cents, but they did do it on higher revenue, and they did give out, pretty good guidance. But you look at Walmart this morning; it's trading down, 3.17% in the pre-market. SelectQuote SLQT, they reported a loss of 2 cents, but the street was looking for a loss of 13 cents, and they did do that on higher revenue. So that's kind of positive for SLQT, Sam, Larry, Quentin, Tom. And then after the bell today, I mean, you have Workday, WDAY, they're coming out. Their EPS is $2.09. Expected move is 8.11%. And INTU, INTU, India Nancy Tom Uncle, their EPS is $2.65. Expected move is 5.99% when they release after the bell today, Emily.
Quick note, Billy was your pick of the day yesterday. We'll check in with you by the end of the show to see how that pick went. Before we get there, we're going to still dive into some more details, including economic events, a number of economic reports to watch today, and then, continued news items coming out surrounding the Fed. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of the economic events?
Listen, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, you got the jobless claims. Expected reading is to come in at 225K. Last week's reading was 224. At 8:30 a.m., you get the Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index. At 9:45, you get the PMI Composite Flash. This is the mid-month PMI Composite data, which will be watched closely. At 10 a.m., you got existing home sales. Estimates are looking for a slight decline here to 3.91 million. The previous reading was 3.93. Leading indicators coming out at 10 a.m. At 7:30 a.m., Raphael Bostic's going to be speaking. What can I tell you? The big day focus was really on those meeting minutes where Michelle Bauman and Christopher Waller argued that inflation, excluding tariff effects, was closer to 2%, and the tariffs were unlikely to have a lasting impact. The majority of officials don't agree. The majority of officials say, no, we don't agree. These are the two officials that are vying for the Fed chair seat. We know that. I heard this morning, from St. Louis, from Kansas City Fed Bank president, who was saying, we look at inflation as closer to 3%. There's a big differential between 2 and 3%. That's a wide truck to drive through. So, yeah, somebody's really off there, but we'll have to wait and see as the data comes in. We'll continue to watch it and monitor it. And that's what I have for you in terms of an economic report this morning, Emily.
Following the earnings section, economic events, what's going on with the Fed, all using your NewsWare. You're also tracking other types of news, data, and information, looking at things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You're looking at your stocks grouped together, like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else is possibly moving the markets today?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I'm doing a quick data check. I got one stock higher, one unchanged. The other 28 are lower. I mean, Boeing's really, the story. That's moving higher. But the rest of these stocks, are in the red. That's not going to happen. That's not going to hold the entire day. Some of these will turn green. But you got to keep an eye out of when they're in the red, because that actually means opportunity. Then you look at your FANG stocks. They're all trading in the red, down at least like 0.5% this morning. You look at some of the news behind the tape, like Apple, which is down about 0.3% this morning. Massimo, ticker MASI, Michael Apple, Sam India. They filed suit against the Customs and Borders Protections for allowing the import of Apple Watches with blood oxygen monitoring capabilities, because they got a patent dispute going on with Apple on these watches right now. So they're saying you can't allow them during this litigation. So yeah, that is the source of weakness. Then you got Meta Platforms, META. I mean, they've frozen their hiring spree for their AI division. They hired over 50 AI researchers and engineers, and they're paying big bucks for it. They're doing hundreds of millions of dollars in packages. So yeah, they got to put a halt on that. Then you have Tesla. I mean, Tesla. There's a news story out there that they had to evacuate parts of a German plant that they're operating after a fire broke out. Talking about Dow Jones 30 stocks. I mentioned Boeing. I just got to follow up on that. I mean, the stock's up 1.45% because Boeing is nearing a deal to sell up to 500 aircraft to China. That's a big shot in the arm. That's a big uplift for Boeing. Johnson & Johnson, ticker JNJ, stocks down about 0.5% this morning, but they announced a $2 billion investment to expand its U.S. manufacturing base in North Carolina. Very positive. And then you got Amazon, and Amazon is off by, it's trading, it's flat essentially this morning. But they lowered the price threshold for free same-day delivery to $25 in certain markets, obviously. It was $100. Now they lowered it to $25 because they really want to compete in this area. Got to keep the eye on the pricing. The pricing is really key. You can't be overcharging the price of shopping goods and charging a delivery fee. It doesn't work out that way. In terms of merger talks, yesterday we talked about Dayforce, and we said, hey, Dayforce is up. Thomas Bravo, the bio firm, is looking to buy them out. Well, today, it was announced that Dayforce entered into an agreement, $12.3 billion definite agreement with Thomas Bravo to become a private company. You're looking at shares of Dayforce this morning, they are trading higher. They're up over 1%. McCormick, MCK, Michael Charlie Kilo, they're acquiring a 25% stake in a Mexican joint venture for $750 million. Okay. In terms of guidance, Walmart's sees Q3 adjusted EPS coming in at 58 cents to 60 cents. Now the street estimate had it at 57. That's a tick higher. That's positive. And then you got NDSN, Nordson. They said that their full year 2025 EPS is tracking slightly above the original guidance. NDSN, nice. NDSN is trading higher by 4.91% this morning. Wow, nice. In terms of buyback news, NDSN, Nordstrom, their board approved a new 500 million share repurchasing authorization. Nice. In terms of catalyst calls, Serapina, SRPT, Citibank opened up a 90-day downside catalyst on the stock. On the other hand, ENTG, Elvis, Nancy, Tom, Grace, Citibank opened up a 30-day upside catalyst watch on that stock. But that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. What do you have for us today?
BJ's Wholesale Club Holdings, ticker BJ Boy John. Earnings are out tomorrow morning. EPS is $1.10. Expected move is 9.64%. Call volume yesterday was positive. I mean, we got 703 calls versus 592 puts. Still positive. Open interest is also positive. You got 14,456 versus 12,547. The differential is not as great as I would like to see when making a pick, but it is positive. And the major brokers are semi-positive on the stock. I mean, most have positive ratings on it. It is a little bit of a mixture, but I don't like the other stocks releasing earnings, so I'm sticking with the BJ's Wholesale Club today. But in terms of an entry price, I got to tell you, with the S&Ps falling, you have to lower your expectations for where the stock is going to open up. I mean, the spread's really wide, 103 to 107 right now. I'm thinking, somewhere between 105 and 106.50. So, I mean, that's kind of the range, and that's a wide range. So let's narrow it down, and let's say 106 is the area I'd like to get in at in that area, because I think that is possible. It's possible for it to print under 106 today. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in terms of an entry price. But BJ's Wholesale Club Holdings, ticker BJ Boy John. That's my pick of the day, Emily.
Another earnings play today, Bill, layering in that other information along with targeting an entry point. It was a similar strategy that you used yesterday. In just a moment, we will check in on that one. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, what do we see here? MZTI, they did report earnings, $1.18 versus $1.33. Yeah, I wasn't really following this one. I took it off my list. I didn't like it. But they did do it on higher revenue. Allstate, ticker ALL, Allstate announces July catastrophic losses at $184 billion. That's low. Gray Media, GTN, Grace, Tom, Nancy, they announced a new video streaming deal on Google Cloud. NVIDIA DeepSeek released the V3.1, which is tailored to Chinese domestic hardware ecosystems. The Federal Reserve is pivoting toward the labor market. CVS is holding off on adding Gilead's new HIV prevention shot to drug coverage lists. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we get to trading today, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day. I pointed out early in the show was Billy. You did let us know that they did report earnings this morning. They did top their EPS by 9 cents, and they beat on revenue. It's taking a little bit of a hit this morning, but you were trading this one yesterday. It did end in the green. So, Bill, how did your call work out?
Hey, listen, you got to look at the numbers, and you realize that it did work out. I mean, the fact of the matter is, that stock opened up yesterday at 25.31, and I was thinking 25.15, and then it fell down to 24.67, and then it rallied right back up, and by the close it closed at 25.31. So if you get on 25, your 1% was there, but this morning it already hit a high at 25.54. So again, the 1% gain was there either from my entry price, or that when I kind of like was saying 25 or 25 15, that 1% was there. So Billy was a winner yesterday. Emily was a winner.
Bill, that was a win. The 1% was there, and again, really spot on with that entry price. And we will check in with you tomorrow about today's wholesale pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow to end your trading week with NewsWare's Trade Talk, when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Vani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.